All right. I have managed to break a few bones. And so today I think it's a good time to talk about the first time I broke my leg. Now, to do that, we're going to have to go to Austria. At the time, we were living in Europe and we would go to Austria to ski. So I learned a lot about skiing in Austria. And we would go for a week every year, the whole time we lived in Europe. And one particular year, we went, typical thing, you're skiing. It was towards the end of the week, and as I was coming down the mountain, I hit an ice pack. When I hit the ice pack, my skis, the bindings on my skis didn't pop. And so what ended up happening was as I hit the ice pack and lost control, the ski helicoptered. And as the ski helicoptered, the binding didn't pop, and there was enough force to actually break both my tibia and fibia clean. Right at the boot line, typical ski break. Now, the story doesn't get entertaining until we start talking about all the aftermath fun. So they packed me all up and sent me off to go get a cast put on. And while we were in there getting the cast put on, a couple different things happened that are important for a later part of the story. One, we were in Austria. So the way they did casts was a little bit different than the way they did casts in Germany, and definitely on base in Germany. And so they put the casts on, and by this point I'd already broken an arm and something else, I don't even remember what, but I'd been through the whole cast thing before. And what was interesting was they put the cast on and they ran this giant rubber strip down this middle of the cast, and they took this giant pair, it looked like tree trimming shear things, and they kind of cut down the middle of the cast, and what that did is that cracked the cast open just slightly, I guess, to let it breathe or whatever it needed to do. Now, interestingly enough, while we were in there, this is the first time I also had the experience of watching somebody who had separated a shoulder get set, because somebody came in with a separated shoulder and they needed somebody to help, and so Grandpa had to go help set this dude's shoulder. Anyways, fast forward, we get back to Germany, which is where we were living at the time, and we went to a different doctor, and they're like, okay, well, let's get this cast off and get one of the new fiber casts on, things like that. So they bust out the saw, they start cutting the cast off, and again, like I said, by this point I'd already broken a few things. I was used to that, but the blade was running particularly hot on this particular one, and as he's cutting along, I start screaming, like I'm a little bit uncomfortable, and then I finally just start screaming, and Grandpa was not happy about this, right? Grandpa was not happy that his son was screaming for no reason, and behaving like somebody who couldn't handle a little bit of a saw noise. So, and I still remember he was so upset, he actually took his handkerchief, which was readily used, and he stuffed it down my throat as I was screaming, because he was trying to get me to be quiet. And I say this with total love. My dad was, it took me a while, but my dad was awesome. But anyways, so he stuffs this handkerchief down my throat, and then as the doctor finishes and cracks the cast open, he just looked, I remember what he said so clearly. He looked up at me and he goes, "You had every right to scream, Tiger." And what had happened was the cast that they put on in Austria was thinner than the cast that they were used to cutting off. And so as he was cutting, the saw was actually, in the soft parts, it was fine. But when he got to my knee, what happened was he had actually sawed through my patella, like cut a groove in my patella with this giant electric saw. And so I'm screaming because the dude's cutting a groove through my kneecap with an electric saw. And I remember I took the handkerchief out of my mouth and I just threw it at my dad. And also, I'm not a wuss. And so, anyways, that was the first time I broke my leg. A lot happened in that little window of growth, I guess, if you will. And I don't know. I haven't looked at an X-ray lately or not. It's been a long time. I don't know. I doubt it, but it'd be interesting to see if there's still a groove in my kneecap from where that saw went through my patella. So Hopefully none of the rest of my breaks are quite as entertaining as that one, but I thought that was a fun one.